Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VoxWork podcast. I am your host, Asmogan, and these are my co-hosts.
My name's Nathan X 2000. Thank you again for having me on, you beautiful gentlemen.
I'm Nico 40k. Always wonderful to be among such wonderful guys.
Absolutely. And just so you all know, normally we record these a week to 2 weeks in advance of the actual upload date. This is going to be a bit of an exception because we're recording it a day before. I'm hoping to have it uploaded for you guys to see. We're putting this one ahead of schedule given recent events. So if we're a little off from if for next week's episode you guys get it sounds very disjointed or disconnected from this one, that's because that's the one we recorded the week prior or 2 weeks prior to the one we're recording right now. Just so y'all know. And today we're going to be talking about the Custodes debacle.
The heated debate.
The shit show. So we're going to be talking about it in kind of three senses as we go throughout our conversation about it here. And it is our main topic. Then we're going to do community questions, as always. But we're going to break it down to each of us explaining our reactions to the initial leaks, to GW's bonehead statement on Twitter, and to the community reaction that's been going on since. And then we're going to go over how we all plan on conducting ourselves going forward. And then we're going to end off with providing some tips and advice to the community at large on what to do going forward. And I know I have a lot of thoughts on that one, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So, off the bat, gentlemen, what was everyone's reactions to the initial Custodes or Femme Custodes drama? Because y'all know mine, so I'm more interested in hearing yours.
I fully thought it was a meme at first because it did not sound like it was real. It's like, really now they put this in the codex? There's no way. And again, like, I wanted to let this kind of boil first, because you know how some people can immediately jump on stuff without the context. So I just waited, and then I saw, oh, this is actually official. The hell are they doing? This doesn't serve the lore in any way. This does not help the Custodes. This does nothing. It is also a flat-out admission of GW. It's like, okay, we tried to bring in the the forced inclusions and all that stuff that we pretty much have to, because we are pretty much owned by these absolute shit. What was it? They were BlackRock and Vanguard. They have a huge amount of stock, so we pretty much have to. But they outright just said, they just lied to our faces and said, "Oh, they've always existed." And just like usually, like, how was it that it usually went to go? It's like they usually deny or they try to downplay it first, and then they would go, it's like, well, they have always existed. It's like that. It's like just a full-plated lie. It disgusts me completely.
I agree.
Nathan.
Yeah, it's just the comment that they made on Twitter about the fact that, oh, there's always been female Custodes within 40k kind of sums up the whole situation for me, in the fact that none of this makes sense from a financial point of view, from a fandom point of view, and when I say financial, I also mean like from a business point of view as well. Because the statement on Twitter was, they say, oh, female Custodes have always existed. So, female Custodes have always existed. We've had tons and tons of stories of the Custodes over, so many years of lore building. Not once was it mentioned that any of them were female. It goes directly against the several quotations that I've seen hanging around the Custodes being referred to as strictly a brotherhood, and the fact that the nobles of Terra would donate their sons And as far as I know, the nobles on Terra aren't giving birth to literal celestial fucking planets, so I don't think it's sons in that regard. It's actual physical male children being donated to the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Although, isn't the process of making a Custodes a lot more complex than making a regular Space Marine, which is difficult enough?
Oh yeah,
Like,
a lot more complex.
it's like there is no woman who would like. You're wasting the idea of wasting precious gene seed like this.
Well, the thing is, they
It's-
don't. To be fair to
well-
the Custodes process, they don't use gene seed.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I got a bit
Yep.
confused, but
No,
like
no, that's fine.
going through all that process, only to immediately end in failure. It's like, what are you thinking?
As far as I know, the process is different.
Mm.
So, I mean, if for some reason female Custodes were in the law from the beginning, because the process is different, if the Emperor saw to the process of creating females into Custodes, like I said, if they were in the law from the beginning, I wouldn't mind, because again, if the Emperor's seeing to every single fucking person, and him in his infinite wisdom is tending to them with a different process other than Space Marines, I might be able to accept that. Well, I mean, I probably would, because it would already be an established law. But the way it's been ham-fisted in is just fucking asinine. And like I was saying before, that's from like a law point of view, right? Again, extended from a representation point of view, still doesn't make sense, because if you really did want females within the Imperium, one, you clearly haven't delved enough into 40k lore to know that the Imperium has females, and this inclusion would just honestly feel like a slap in the face for any serious effort for people on the opposition side would be trying to campaign for. Like, well done, you've just got your reference of a female Custodes just slapdashed. No thought, no effort. You get an entire short story and a codex, no dedicated book, no dedicated, official segment anywhere.
No models
it's just,
either.
Yeah, no models,
No
no like
models.
announcement whatsoever. So again, and that's just from the Imperium side of things. You clearly, there's the other factions in the setting that also have their own females. So again, you've not really delved enough into Warhammer. You've got all the representation you already want, and even if you wanted strictly in the big badass, not Sisters of Battle way, which in my opinion is a very choosy wanting of like females, that's still like completely pathetic. And okay, from a financial point of view, is the fact that you've now just pissed off a lot of your audience on a biblical scale, to the point where, as we're recording this, not even several hours ago, both Arch and Asmo released videos about the CFO from Games Workshop, who's just sold 2/3 of her stock in GW. And the CFO is someone who is very knowledgeable about the inner workings of a business, as far as I'm aware. And for her to sell 2/3 of her fucking stock in GW, it's a bit weird that it's not all, but 2/3.
That's a lot.
2/3 suggests, yeah, that's a
That's
lot
a-
of dough.
And she's resigned, but
Oh yeah,
to be-
sorry, yeah, I'm
yeah.
resigned.
And to be fair to the resignation aspect, she did resign back in January. However, that doesn't mean her resignation is unrelated to this, because as she would be, she's in the offices. She's involved directly in like their plans and their development procedures. You'd have to be, because she's the chief financial officer. Obviously, you have to dole out finances within the company to projects as they're being developed, as you're managing everything, so you're technically aware of everything. So there is an argument to be had that her resignation is related to this, because I imagine that a lot of this stuff was pre-planned months and months ago, probably well before January. So it is quite possible she saw the writing on the wall that a lot of this was going to make the company very contentious. It was going to cause a huge dip in the stock market, one that may not be recovered from. So the woman resigned back in January. And whether or not that was directly related to this or not, her selling her stocks, like just the other day, that is definitely related. You cannot make the argument that is just she coincidentally chose to sell her shares right after this disastrous response from GW and this huge backlash the community is providing. No, you can't make that argument. You'd have to be brain dead. Like, the level of copium you have to be huffing to say that has nothing to do with it. She's smart. This woman knows full well. She knows damn well that those stock values are about to plummet.
Well, yeah, hence why I said, like, as the CFO within the business, she's got to be knowledgeable about the inner workings, or at least somewhat knowledgeable. So the fact that she dipped early and is selling her stocks now, given the fact that the stocks are plummeting, this will probably be the highest point that she was then comfortable with, that she can now sell the stocks, because no doubt she saw the onslaught, like the oncoming, like you said, shit show of the Custodes and what it's going to do. It's like, from a fandom point of view, like I was explaining, they've pissed off their audience to a biblical state now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and
this was the closest they could get without making Femmarines. The Femmarines would have been, like, in my opinion, the death knell of 40k.
Oh,
if
they might as well
do that, but they could just about get away with the Custodes.
They'll be defended more on the Custodes point, and I think the backlash won't be as bad. It's still going to be severe, because a lot of people in this community are smart. They know what this is meant to be a testing ground for. They know what this is leading to FSM. This is just trying to boil the frog. Although they're boiling, instead of boiling the frog very slowly, they went from cold water to now just below boiling, and was hoping that all the way up to that point no one would notice. So if they did pro FSM, they might as well just, the water would be boiling and a fucking steaming up in massive plumes if they went all the way to female space marines. But they're just below boiling, and we're hoping we wouldn't notice that jump.
Yeah, and also an argument could definitely be made for, say, okay, so instead of actually making female Custodes, because that doesn't work in any capacity with the lore.
Also,
how about I was just gonna finish this point.
Yeah.
How about instead you focused on the equivalent, the Sisters of Silence?
Yes,
they barely get any coverage. They, like, I definitely do think they could have, and the thing is that you can also make an argument for one of them being like an quote unquote honorary Custodes, but even then, like, it would not have hit it would not have had the absolute shitstorm that they were kind of hoping for. Well, maybe not to this degree, but like to create the whole discussion. And the whole thinking is like, we're gonna get rid of the bigots, quote unquote. We're gonna get rid of the bigots. We're gonna get a more broad-minded audience. We're going to get the audience that we actually want.
Which they're not gonna get, by the way. Most of the woke people celebrating have never bought a single miniature for 40k ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not happened. So, and it's not happening. Like, the people who buy miniatures on a yearly basis that engage with this hobby week to week, month to month, those are the most passionate people, and those passionate people read the lore. They know the story. They know the overarching canon. And that's who you spit in the face of. A lot of those people avoid politics like the plague. They just dive into this stuff and they don't deviate from it. So when you do something so blatant and so disrespectful as to get those people riled up, that's when you start to lose. That's when you start to fall. And that's what we're seeing right now. But one thing I'd like to point out, because there's been a lot of discussion in copium, some from like legitimate fans that are just trying to like justify it in their head and like all this stuff, because they just, again, it's cope. Like, they don't want to acknowledge that the hobby is falling to a political ideology, so they're trying to come up with excuses. And one of the excuses that's been thrown around, or some angle of excuse that has been kind of thrown around all this, is, like, oh, well, if they had just done it the right way, this wouldn't be as bad. Like, if they didn't just half-assedly said, like, hey, pro-FSM BS. If they hadn't just done that, if they had actually written a story, written the lore to justify it, it would make sense. And to that, I say bullshit. Because here's the thing. With the Custodes as themselves, the statement that they made, the retcon that they made with them always having been there, no story would have been able to explain that and make it good. Do you know why? It's because the Emperor was a hardcore fucking sexist, you morons. We have countless examples of it. The Emperor, in no way, shape, or form, believed that women were capable of being the biggest and the baddest and the toughest. Not at all. And to be fair, it's fair sexism. Because let's be honest, women in the real world aren't as physically strong as men. Does that mean they're lesser than us societally? No. But women are physically weaker than men on average. And just because there's exceptions, by the way, doesn't disprove the rule. That's why they're exceptions. The Emperor was a hardcore sexist. He made the Space Marines all male. He made the Primarchs all male. He made the Custodes all male. All because that is what he saw as the ideal fighter, the ideal pinnacle of a combatant. That was his vision of it. Plus, when Malkador said to him, "You should have had daughters instead of sons," he laughed at him. He mocked him for that statement. That's the guy we're talking about. So the statement, there had always been female Custodes, even if you try and explain away, oh, well, they never said explicitly that they couldn't, couldn't make female Custodes anywhere. The Emperor wouldn't, even if he could. That's not the kind of guy we're talking about here. Again, we're not talking about an egalitarian, happy-go-lucky universe like Star Trek, where they're constantly looking for diversity and inclusion. That's not how the Imperium works.
Yeah, they have to constantly fight for their own survival, because if they don't, humanity might as well go extinct, right? And the Emperor is always going to be thinking, okay, who are the strongest ones of the sexes? It's the men, right? They're the ones that we can augment to make them stronger, to give us more of a chance. So, just trying to force it to be a female is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and to be fair, when it comes to real world rules and stuff like that, I'm perfectly fine with deviating from those, but you have to do so from the beginning. And the lore has always established that the Emperor, A, was sexist, B, the process for making Space Marines was so complex, even young men, where it was designed to work on them, still only a percentage of the percent that go for the process and go for the change survive. Very few aspirants survive to become Space Marines. And that's with the Gene Seed process. That's with Space Marines. Custodes is supposed to be way fucking harder. It's a more hands-on, direct, evolution, and we don't know the exact process, but we know it's more complex. We know the end result is more powerful. So, again, just within the universe's own setting and logic, it doesn't make sense.
What bothers me, though, is that some people will take this to meaning we don't want females to be in the hobby and all this kind of stuff. It's
those people aren't worth responding to. Those people aren't worth responding to.
Exactly. They're not worth responding to. And two, we already have, female-specific factions. We already have that. And
we have just as many as there is male-centric factions. There's 2 all-male factions, 2 all-female factions. Custodes and Space Marines. And then you have Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence. Boom.
Yeah, it's just everyone fights in this, even if they're in their own particular faction. And it's no one is generally offended by this. Everyone knows deep down, okay, men tend to be the physically stronger sex, right? But that doesn't mean we can't use female armies or stuff like that. The women who already like 40K for what it is, right? I have never never truly have I seen an actual female 40k fan who's just like who knows the truth about the Emperor, specifically making male space marines be like, "Oh, I'm offended. I don't want to be a fan of this anymore." It's like never, ever I've seen that. Never.
No. And you wouldn't. Like, that's just something that isn't said in the community.
Mhm.
Like, the the thing is, the women within the hobby that we already have, most of them don't play sisters. They don't play Sisters of Silence, Sisters of Battle. They don't play Space Marines. They don't play human factions. Most of the ones I've encountered play Orcs and Tyranids.
Very based.
I agree. But, like, the notion that adding or altering the male factions to be female will suddenly cause an influx of women, first of all, that's not true. Like that's just assuming women are such egotistical narcissists that they cannot engage with something unless it's a direct reflection of them and a direct mirroring of them. And that's very demeaning and condescending to women.
Mm-hmm.
But let's pretend that it does bring in a bunch of women. Those women are not the type you would want in the hobby because they're egotistical narcissists. They're people who need to see themselves in the product and reflect it at them and tell them they're oh so great. Who the fuck wants to deal with that on the tabletop or in the community?
I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, we already deal with that enough with some of the fucking elitists that think if you don't drill fucking gun barrels in your bolters, you're somehow lesser of a hobbyist. Do you really want those types mixing with this narcissist who will also scream at you if you dared shoot off one of their favorite sister of battle in their army on the tabletop? No, you don't want to deal with that shit. You want people who are interested for what the universe is, not because of who they are and like obsessed with themselves. And if they see themselves in it, then they'll get into it. You don't want those types. So even if this notion that adding more women into like the Custodes or the Space Marines will somehow bring women in, first of all, it won't. But second of all, even if it did, those are not the type of women anyone wants to hang out with.
I just also think it's funny to think about in like a real life context. I really love stuff like, say, I love the Blade movie. I love the Salamanders from 40k. I enjoy a lot of characters of different ethnicities and all that kind of stuff. Nothing has ever barred me from enjoying them. The only like factor that goes into the mind is like, okay, are they awesome? Okay, number two, like, is they well written? Done. That's the only thing like most people ever think about in general. So the idea that I cannot enjoy this unless it reflects me perfectly. By the way, I have seen like some female streamers who do think like that. They have to reflect themselves entirely within a video game and somehow manage to. Those are the biggest narcissistic cunts you'll ever meet in your entire life. You'll never want to meet them in real life. Ever. Just, it is like they're a walking penis repellent. Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, but generally, my reaction to all this has been disappointment. Disappointment in our own community, because quite a few of the community that are coping with it and are trying to make excuses for it are actively adding to the fire and causing problems. And then you have like out of the content creators, quite a few of the 40k content creators have either acquiesced outright to this and are supporting it, or have been fence riding, like Luton.
Unbelievable.
Have you seen it?
Oh, wow.
Have you seen his coverage about it? His video?
No, I actively like avoid him because, it's like the moment he said, it's like there's no canon in 40k. It's like I don't wanna reward him by watching his stuff, like anything like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a video about it, and you can pretty much sum up the video with, well, I don't really care like what's going on right now. I don't think it matters. I care what people think 6 months down the road from now.
Coward. Absolute coward.
Didn't surprise me. The guy's got no backbone.
Jesus.
Also, like, this is kind of a defense for him. I think it's less of a defense and more of an explanation. But the guy's obsessed with 40K. Like, he's dedicated chunks of his life to it. Not just from like a hobbyist standpoint, but also from like a video creator and video editor standpoint. Like, he's delved into this shit very thoroughly throughout his life. So, he's kind of like Valric, where he's just so obsessed that it's the sunk cost fallacy. He's put too much into it. He can't admit that when it's falling or failing, because that's somehow a reflection upon him that he supported it for so long.
Yeah, and like people should never like think like that. It's one thing. Obviously, I love 40K, and I will always love the grimdark and all that stuff. But when it goes sour, it is not a reflection of you at all. It's just like GW screws up. Let them deal with the screw up, unless of course they finally change their minds on this, which I don't really think they're going to, because that would imply that they actually care what the fans think. And my issue a little bit with some of the fans is that, see, some of them will still buy the models. Some of them will still they will actively talk about how much they don't like this, but they will still play. They'll still buy the newest model. They'll still the whole sunken cost fallacy. It's like, if you truly care about 40K, right? You do not. It's like you don't. Okay, you never bite the hand that feeds you. That's just a general rule, right? And when, in this case, right, the fans are feeding GW because, obviously, revenue and all that stuff. It's like when they are actively biting you right now, because if they don't care about the lore, like, guess what else they don't care about? They don't care about you. They are more than fine with removing you. Because who are you to them?
A block button.
Exactly. A block button.
Which they've been pressing exponentially a lot lately, as people call them out. They finally stopped after a while, but they've been blocking like people left and right for daring to criticize them.
Mm-hmm. All I will say is just that if you truly want the hobby to be non-political, right? And I think everybody wants it to be like a non-political space, because everyone wants to just have fun, yeah, in general. Then you have to vote with your wallet. You have to stand up against this. You have to be vocal about it, because everyone knows that everyone who is in the hobby knows that this is wrong, and this could only be the start of it, unless you show them. Unless you show it's like, okay, I am not buying a single thing until this is changed, and this is fixed to what the original canon was.
Which I think.
And also,
we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves there, because we're kind of getting. Yeah, we're. I guess we could jump into it, unless Nathan, you have any more you want to say about how, like, your reaction to everything.
Well, a few things. Covering what you said before about watching Luton's video. I did watch his video when it came out because I was like genuinely interested to see what he would, to see if he would take a side. Obviously, he didn't.
No.
But I can find some validation when he said that I'm interested to hear people's reactions of, 6 months down the line. But it's the fact that he's not interested in people's reactions now. Because the reactions are fresh.
They're more honest now.
Yeah. The fresh, they are honest. Sometimes they can be a little bit, sometimes it can be wise to let people cool down and approach the situation with a more clearer sort of head. But as far as I know, GW are not really giving us any reason to look back on it, in 6 months' time, to then think, well, maybe we should be understanding from GW's point of view, because they're not feeding us any new information. They're not justifying the reason that they're doing it. So, to be fair, the same reaction that we're having now is going to be the same reaction that we're having 6 months down the line.
Yeah,
They are not handling this at all. As far as the blocking people on Twitter fiasco as well, I can understand blocking people if people were just genuinely hurling insults at them and not saying anything like decent. But it's the fact that they were blocking people, like you said, for just criticizing them and pointing out their own fucking law to them on Twitter, saying that it's only the sons, only the noble sons of Terra.
I was
You
doing
have
that
law
right.
that directly point out the custodians could only be fucking male, and then you block. How childish do you have to be?
GW childish.
Like, how dare you think yourself, these people, like Nicho, you said before, to bite the hand that feeds. You put yourself on this podium of these people that have been financing you and helping you with money and support for all these fucking years, putting yourself up on this podium that, no, I don't have to listen to you anymore because we can make our own decisions. It's not like you've been buying from us for years. No, we will not listen to you, who has invested so much time in our law. You have been blocked, good sir. You have been blocked, and you shall nay speak to my face anymore, you fucking peasant. It's childish, and from a business point of view, it's a bad look.
It's suicidal, is what it is.
It's bordering suicidal. Like, if they make Femmarines, I think that, like I said before, that'll be the death knell. That'll be the gun to the head. That'll be the cyanide to the throat.
Yep. There will be no going back from that.
And to finalize my thoughts, Chit, you'd mentioned something else. There were three things. Oh yeah, sorry. To finalize on Luton's video, he said at the very end, he said, "Oh, I've got more important things to do, like, spend time with my children, go outside, live life." I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Those are very much more important things to life. 40k is not life, right? To some people it may be, and if it is, that's a problem. But life is much more than 40k. But Luton, for fuck's sake, your entire channel's lifeblood is 40k. You do lore videos, you do painting videos, like, well, I think didn't he used to do painting videos, but he stopped?
A couple here and there. I think he streams from time to time, painting stuff and chatting, but
his entire channel became 40k, didn't it? Like, he started out with like Battlefield, I think, or like Star Wars, but then he became 40k. Luton is the 40k. He was widely regarded as, if you don't like Arch, Luton's the dude that you go to. His entire channel recently is 40k. His essence is 40k. His presence within the online spheres is the 40k dude. This is your lifeblood. This is something you've dedicated your time towards. If you do not stand up and fight for something that you have dedicated yourself towards, what you have talked to so many other people about, the things you yourself have made content on, poured hours of your very important life, like he said at the end of his video. If you've poured hours of your very important life to this dedicated franchise and someone starts fucking up the franchise, you might want to get a little shitted about it, little pissed, little heated, little bothered that not only are the people who are trying to gatekeep the hobby that you love so much are trying to stop it from getting worse, but the company that owns the fucking hobby is not only like going against the gatekeepers, they're pulling on the fucking gate, helping the people that are trying to ruin it. And for whatever nefarious purpose GW is doing it for, whether they're trying to tank their own stocks for a financial reason, which I've heard some companies try and do before, in terms of like a buyout.
Isn't that I'd prefer it if that's the case?
Whether they've got general retards working out there, and upper brass have basically now been called in to say, Yet a few of the financial interns have basically been fucking shit up. The social media knobhead who deals with everything kind of got out of whack. They let the tard off the leash, and now they've tanked the stock prices for whatever reason. I don't know. Their stocks are now tanking. GW has, or like, effectively the company as a whole have fucked up the law. It's pissed off long-term fans, tanked the stock, killed a lot of trust that regular normies had in GW still. A lot of us didn't have a trouble like trusting them for a long ass fucking time. Which is why I said a few episodes ago, when has GW ever done something nice for the fans? Like, genuinely, the last time you remember? And we couldn't think of any. So that's my thoughts. They've shot themselves in the foot, and they are. And it's, oh my god, it's just like, it's genuinely depressing to see, like, the fact that this makes no sense from any point of view that I'm trying to rationalize, apart from tanking their own stocks for a buyout to get propped up. That's the only thing I can think of. Because they tank their own stocks. They're risking their own jobs. And no doubt GW is not its own company. Is GW owned by anyone exactly? Like, not like stocks and shares, but like, are they under any corporation?
No. As far as I know anyway, they're not owned by anyone but the shareholders.
Are the shareholders? Okay, well, still, my point stands, even amongst the shareholders. Because when they tank their own stock, they're also tanking kind of, the money of the shareholders as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because the stocks are worth less, but maybe that's what some of them are planning in terms of like a really cheap buyout and then propping them back up again for like fucking BlackRock or whoever's going to give them that fucking DEI money, whatever. So yeah, that's why I thought, like, it genuinely doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense from any beneficial standpoint until you get to BlackRock or Vanguard or Ballygifford. Like, it doesn't make any sense till you get to them, because at the end of the day, like, that's the part that people are pretty copium on, is like, oh well, this isn't being done for DEI or diversity. Even though in their own annual reports to said shareholders since January of 2021, or sorry, July of 2021, they have been regularly pushing the DEI and diversity and inclusion programs because Vanguard and BlackRock bought so many of their shares out. Like, again, it doesn't make any sense up until you get to that point. If you are thinking about everything from the hobbyist perspective, or even just like basic financial, like, as long as you don't go anywhere near the stock market, in terms of like you trying to figure this out, it won't make sense, because there's nothing there that makes sense. There's nothing there that this is like a clear, through like intelligent move on their part to make. So the only reason that they're doing this is because they're being told to. Now there's debate between, is it Amazon or is it Vanguard and BlackRock? If it wasn't going to be Amazon who made a push, it was definitely it's been BlackRock and Vanguard. So this is being forcibly done for politics.
Even as BlackRock themselves are literally tanking their own company, they're actively losing money, and you just love to see it, don't you? Just the
Totally.
Absolute cancer of art, of artistic expression, and just franchises. They're just you just love to see it. No.
But yeah, that's all of our thoughts in terms of the reaction and our reactions to this occurrence, this ongoing debacle. But now, about how each of us will conduct ourselves in the hobby space going forward. This is socially, this is with, like, in terms of buying products or not, whether we're even going to stay in the hobby or we're going to engage with others. Generally speaking, how is this going to affect us going forward as fans of 40K?
Do you want to go first, Asmo? Or?
I'll go first if Nathan doesn't have anything in mind for this quite off the bat.
No, I've already got my organized thoughts, but you go first, Asma.
Okay. How I am intending to conduct myself going forward is I am going to continue in 40k. I am not going to buy any more GW products. I am boycotting GW. That means everything from the paints to the add-ons to the primer cans to the miniatures to the books to the codexes, everything. I am not buying a single GW related product until not only a retraction of this bullshit, but a hands and knees apology. And I don't think we're going to get that. So it'll be a long-standing boycott. It may even be a permanent one. But I refuse to back down out of the hobby over this. Like, they're not going to get rid of me. I'm going to continue making lore videos. Obviously, with the lore cut off well before this rape of the lore. I'm going to continue making painting videos. I have a huge pile of shame to get through, and even when I get through it, I have 3D printers. I'm going to continue playing the game. I got old editions codexes. I got all the codexes I could need for 10th edition if I want to keep playing that as well.
Nice.
There's no way they can stop me from continuing to play and continuing to engage in their hobby, so to speak. But they're not getting a single dime from me while I do so.
Respect.
And honestly, like, that's the big thing I encourage everyone else to do. But at the same time, I'm gonna stay in 40k. I'm also gonna start giving other hobbies a try in the interim. Again, I'm not quitting 40k, but given the tone, given like this atmosphere of 40k community wise now, it's definitely hurt my enjoyment. So spending as much time on it is definitely going to take a step back. And I do want to spend time on other hobbies and other things that will actively reward me for doing so. And, you know, have my time enjoyed more so. So I'm also going to look into Conflict 47 and probably collect some more Gunpla to paint and assemble. But, yeah, that's my general move going forward. Staying in 40k, still doing all the stuff, but just slowing down a bit, not buying any GW products, and giving some other things a shot in the meantime that are more worthy of my time and money.
I respect that. Right. So with me, did you want to go first, Nathan, or?
Well, I mean, I can't go first. Asma went first. You go next, Nicho.
Okay.
You were the man of technicals.
Yeah, I know. So, I would say it's similar to Asmo. Like, I still want to stay in the hobby. I still want to engage within it. For me, though, I am not in any way, I'm not going to buy anything from GW. And luckily, I have built up quite a bit of a backlog that I have not gone through yet. And I think it is only in favor of, it's like, this is like before there was any kind of changes going on. So this is like classic books. So you have your Eisenhorn books. I have my still need to go through like the first few of the Gaunt's Ghosts books, and similarly as well, I think I would in general just, well, I don't necessarily need to buy any model because I tend not to buy any more, but luckily there is another way to engage actively in Warhammer 40k. The Dawn of War games, and also the Ultimate Apocalypse. So
fuck him.
Yeah, so if I ever have an inkling to really get into 40k again, well, then I can just go through all my backlog. I haven't played everything. I have so much to experience and all that stuff. And the thing is, I think, well, it's part of a tip, but I'll say that later. But yeah, just in general, I'm staying in. If they ever do female Space Marines, then flat out I am just gone. And that'll be the end of it. And the best part is, like, I have backup hobbies as well. I have a couple, in fact, that are miniatures. You have your Conquests, you have your Conflict 47, I have War Machine and Hordes. So I am, relatively speaking, I am settled. So if it ever does truly go bad, then yeah.
I just want to point out that it's interesting, and I know I don't want to stop Nathan from going next too soon, but I just want to make this point. It's interesting how, like, what was it, 5-6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else who was like mad about Primaris. Actually, it's been more than 6 years now, hasn't it? Shit, how many years has it been? I don't want to feel old, so I don't want to answer that. But years ago, when they first added Primaris, and a lot of people left, and they like decried that they were going to BattleTech. It's funny how now, after everything that's happened with BattleTech on top of this with 40K, none of us are mentioning BattleTech.
Well, I mean, BattleTech right now is going through their own struggle session because a lot of because a lot of the people who were in like sick Marxism and stuff, they wanted to wokeify the 40K space completely, both Warhammer and Fantasy. And the moment people realized that they were gonna go into BattleTech, they were like, "Hey, wait, hang on, where are you going? We were just getting somewhere with this." And then they went into BattleTech, and right now, I don't know if you've seen the latest stuff, and I'll just keep the BattleTech stuff really short, but not only did a public Discord that was created by the community got taken over by...
I even reported on that back when it first happened.
Yeah.
We're probably not the best people to report on it, though. I'd recommend people go to Mage Leader for it, since he's like actually more in the trenches of BattleTech, where we're all 40K more or less.
Yeah, I will just say of what I know, like the fact that a whole bunch and a couple of the writers were getting into some doxing attempts, and it's disgusting to me. It's like, it is always the fans that make the franchise, right? Because BattleTech was actually dead for a long while, and it was the fans constantly talking about the lore, the new the models, and couple of the books and stuff like that. They kept it alive. Until, of course, they revitalized the project, and now they're in a downward spiral again. So I guess history does really repeat itself. But yeah, with BattleTech, it's like, I'm not sure I'll move into that, because it is... I mean, there's a lot of lore, but my god, there is a lot of lore. Also, just robots. It's like, just stumpy robots? I don't know.
I mean, for some people that is enough, but...
Yeah, for some people.
But anyway, we've already talked over Nathan giving his thoughts enough as it is. So, Nathan.
So, as for conducting myself going forward, I'm glad that I said a few episodes ago that I was going to start focusing on the tabletop and the painting a lot more. Yeah, that plan's completely dashed now. Like, I've fucking thrown that at the wall.
Fair enough.
I could do that. Yeah, in agreement with you, gentlemen, I'm going to boycott everything that GW is now going to point out unless we get a hands and knees apology from them. Like nothing short of a 5-star blowjob from them would probably ease my contempt for them. Sadly, that does mean that upon release, I won't be buying nor covering Space Marine 2, which I was really, really excited for.
Yeah, same.
Not like hyped because I saw fucking Dark Tide, but Space Marine 2, obviously, you know, it
looked promising and all that.
It's more than promising. It's the low, like it's how I got my logo for my channel. It's how, like, it's where, like, you know, one of my most like popular sort of videos with like the story of Titus comes from, you know, Space Marine itself, you know, with like a really key childhood memory for me and shit like that. And I can't, at least I, in no good conscience, can buy the sequel the fact that it's owned and it would be directly funding a company that for some reason can treat its supporters as if they were complete, non-thinking pay piggies, as if like our feelings don't matter, catering to the feelings of people who will only be around for like a year at best once they've gotten their way, and then they'll just piss off. They just won't give a shit about the people that have supported them, talked about their stuff through word of mouth, reviews online, making videos. It's very like disheartening to see GW do all of this, but I suppose the silver lining is you can engage in your other hobbies with all the amounts of money that you're saving. Like GW thinking this is going to be like, what are these people gonna spend their money on now? It's almost for some reason they're acting like they're the only thing you can spend money on. Like money has no other point other than to spend it on 40k shite, right?
Yeah.
You can spend it on Gundam, Gunpla, Conflict 47, anything bolt action. You can spend it on War Machines, Horde. You can spend it on anything. I don't fucking know in real life. I don't know. Go outside, buy yourself a new knife and cooking pan set.
You
Teach
can
yourself how to
spend
cook
it on
and shit.
dildos. Wait, wrong hobby.
You could like rather than buying plastic and getting GW on to tell you to go fuck yourself, you can buy your plastic and fuck yourself literally with a dildo collection. It'll be a lot more productive, and it'll already come pre-painted. You could teach yourself how to cook properly. You could spend it on groceries. You could spend it on gas money for your car, travel money, university, college money. You can spend your money on whatever the fuck you want.
Or the truest, most hardcore hobby and hardcore pastime with the biggest risk involved in your entire life. Dating.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what Pink is gonna draw for this.
Okay.
Yeah, you could go out, you could treat your lady friend, or you discriminate in the face, in which open wide. I don't, you could spend it on whatever partner you have. I don't fucking care. You could be Vosh, you could be banging a horse, but there's so much other stuff you could be spending your money on. GW, if you do not have the sentiment of GW can get absolutely raw dogged, no lube, fucked after what they've done to the law and after the way they've responded to the diehard fans that have propped them up for years. If you do not have the sentiment, then you deserve every single time you get ripped off. You deserve every single time you get gaslit, and you deserve every single fucking time that you bend over, pull your pants down, and you invite GW inside of your warm fucking passive-aggressive colon, and they don't even thank you afterwards. You deserve all of that because of what they've done.
Absolutely.
Because of the communities that have been not exactly torn down, but have been damaged. Because the company that, again, like I said, they've been supporting and they've been tending to, and they've making sure grow, like ever since like 40k started, like between 3 people and a dream, like to make sci-fi fantasy.
And yeah, they have created a crack, and doubling down is just going to deepen it.
They have created a very fond and a very nice place that anyone can go to escape the politics. And over time, the wrong people are in charge, the wrong people made decisions, and for years and years and years and years, the wrong people are still kept in the same positions they have been, making, again, the wrong fucking decisions. So again, if you're not just an adamant, fuck GW, you get what you fucking deserve.
And I entirely agree. And very eloquently put, mad.
Thank you. Thank you.
As expected of a British man.
The greatest at the
Does that
Brits, next to Ball.
Ooh.
Jokes aside, Ball's reaction to this has been hilarious. Because he quit 40K a while ago.
Yeah.
So literally when this first happened, do you know what he did in the Discord?
What did he do?
Like the moment I made my first video about this Femstody stuff, the very first, he didn't even at me. I just saw it. The very first thing I saw when I clicked back on it into Discord after uploading it is him putting the Elmo gif, like with his hands demonically held up with fire in the background, saying "Let it burn."
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking too
Let
right.
it burn. Let it burn.
Like, he's been around since Rogue Trader, and like being a 40K fan for that long, watching his reaction to that was surreal. He has just been celebrating. Like he's a giddy little schoolgirl running through a field of daisies, like tossing the petals everywhere, like la di da di da.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
It is hilarious.
Well, I mean, I can't blame him. Like, the vindication for leaving a hobby that you've loved must feel so fucking good.
I did like when I asked Arch like how he felt about all this like vindication, and he says it's a Tuesday. Cocky bastard, but fair enough. Yeah. All right. So I guess that leads us to the third part of this discussion. Tips for staying in the hobby without paying GW, and I'm going to add on to it tips for people in general in regards to the Custodes debacle. Should I go first? Or...
Yeah, go first.
Yeah.
All right. So tips I personally would offer the community is, like I said before, if you're going to stay in the hobby, I'd recommend doing so in the same vein as myself, where you're still painting the minis, you're still like reading the lore and talking about the lore with your friends, and you're still playing the tabletop, but with the caveat that you're not doing so buying any new products. You're sticking with what you've already collected, and for whatever you haven't already collected, you either get secondhand market, recasters, 3D prints, whatever, PDFs of the books, leaked audio books, whatever you can find, scrounge it together, and don't give GW another dime. That's my biggest tip right there, is like, if you're going to stay in the hobby and you don't want to reward them, or you don't want to be contributing to the problem, and you want to show them that this was the wrong move, you can't spend a dime on anything that they're making. So that's like the big like hobby related tips. Tips in regards to like how to mentally deal with all this, because I know a lot of people were super attached to 40K. I am, like, so take it for where it comes. I'm one of you. That this is a huge mental blow. It's a huge kind of weight added on to all of it, because now something that you used to think about when you needed a reprieve from stresses and day-to-day stuff now is actively adding to it. I would say try your best to focus on the good things, like either the good memories you've had with friends, or actively making new ones while still playing with friends, or playing like 7th edition or 8th edition, or even if you still have all the stuff you need for it, 8th and 9th, or sorry, 9th and 10th edition, and just, you know, chilling out, having fun. Try and maintain the good aspect of the hobby for yourself, and try to ignore the bad. Again, while actively not rewarding or contributing to GW whilst doing so. So that's my general advice around it, and it's going to be some growing pains. Like the actual person-to-person approach will have to depend on you as a person, but generically and generally, those are my tips.
Very well said.
Yeah.
I would say that, in keeping with the form, I know that there are a lot of, if you wanted to remain in the hobby without paying them a dime, always the secondary market is the option. But then there's also, I know that a lot of 40K fans have a massive backlog of video games. You can always play through that. You can always, there are alternate hobbies. Well, sorry, there are alternate ways to even play in the hobby. Have you ever heard of? I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Tabletop Simulator. Well, you can literally mod 40k into it. You know,
Yes, that's
so
true.
if you feel like doing that, then that's totally possible. And also, this is something I feel is also important. So, as the lore gets changed within the wikis and stuff like that, because the people who actively edit them, they don't care. They have a bad habit of just doing it. So, I would say make your own wikis, make your own encyclopedia in keeping with the lore, right? Again, it's always the community that makes the hobby what it is. And if that means making your own wiki of the original lore, the one that wasn't that wasn't tainted, let's say, then you got to do it. Absolutely. And like connect, this is also a great way for people to connect. Like, what do they know about what do they know about the hobby, how it came to be? And it's just that will keep you in 40k without paying them, because interactions like this, building a wiki or talking about good stories and all that stuff, that does not require money at all to give to GW at all. You don't need to do that at all. And that's also the best experience, talking with all kinds of people about how much you love 40k. So build a new hobby, go through your backlog of video games and books and the stuff that you already have. And if you're that desperate to play a game, well, Tabletop Simulator is definitely cheaper than most models. So keep that in mind.
All models. Isn't
Yeah.
Tabletop Sim free?
I don't think so. I think it's like $9.
Okay, if it's $9, yeah. The cheapest fucking model that comes to mind for 40k, it's no longer this price after inflation, but it used to be the Acadian troopers. You could get like a box of 5 for $10.
So minor correction, it is $19, but still,
All
that
right.
is relatively speaking cheap.
Well, for all current model boxes and sets, it's definitely cheaper.
Yeah. So I think that's my tips and tools. Nathan.
So again, I think I'm in agreement with you gentlemen as to how to proceed with given the current state of 40k, but I will give a few technical things as well. So in terms of Nico's recommendation for Tabletop Simulator, if you're going to download, if you're going to play Tabletop Simulator and download the mods, keep a physical backup of all the mods that you download for 40k, because if GW's stock prices start tanking, they might issue Steam with a few DMCAs for the mods that they might be hosting, and GW might take those mods down as per the request of the business owner because they hold the copyright. So keep a physical backup, keep a dedicated hard drive, just in case GW go after them. I doubt they would, but I'm not putting it past GW given how frivolous and liberal they've gotten with the lawsuits. Not gonna lie, they start tanking their stock prices. Everyone keeps going to other places for their tabletop content. They want to hold a monopoly on their side of the tabletop. So, yeah. In terms of still engaging with the hobby, I know everyone likes to make fun of like the same fucking dime a dozen meme, 3D printer go brr, fucking same shite song and dance, like fucking every neckbeard will just post that. But
I love
if
you
you
too,
can't
Nathan.
afford, if you can't, I love you too. If you can't, if a 3D printer is not on the cards for you, whether you don't have the room for it, you don't have the technical know-how for it, the places like Etsy online, there are people who print off either direct 40k, convert models, sprues, parts, or there are people who obviously print off parts that are, because they're not part of the full 40k model, very good replacements that you can easily mishmash, kit bash together. They typically sell them in packs. If you are going to invest in a 3D printer, obviously, there's a lot more things you can do with that than just 40k. But yeah, this is no reflection, because apparently I've heard you can get into some legal trouble over this. This is not a reflection on Asmogan nor Nicho 40k. This is directly a statement from Nathan X 2000. 3D print and download every single fucking direct 40k STC on Discord. We have a ton of backlogs of them. Directly download them, physically store them, and print those fuckers off as a big middle finger to GW.
And STLs, right?
STLs, STCs, whatever, files. You know what I mean. I don't do 3D printing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you knew what I meant when I said like men were stronger than women. You knew I meant on average.
Well, sometimes you've got to say, but in terms of 3D printing, there's no caveats here. When I say models, I mean print those fuckers off directly, physically store them on hard drives where people can't get them, or GW can't trace them.
Which I do. I have 3 40 gig USBs. Which there's not even like the biggest USBs you can get, by the way. But I have like 3 40 gig USB portable drives, and each of them are filled with STLs I picked up over the years, last couple of years since I've been 3D printing, and those are permanent. Like those 3 USBs, as long as I don't lose them or break them, nothing on them can be taken from me, and thus what Nathan is saying is very true. As long as you get those files and you are not storing them on a cloud or anything like that, you're storing them in a physical digital storage on either your personal hard drive and your computer, a laptop, or in my case a portable USB, you're set. Like those will never go away.
Yeah, I mean the IT technician in me does technically want to say that USBs can wear down over time because I've seen it happen, but as long as you keep then copying the files to like more drives, like cloud storage, yeah, the GW can't legally touch them, but I wouldn't put it. But just because something's not legal doesn't mean it stops companies from doing something. It doesn't physically stop them.
I mean,
right?
It's not legal to copyright the word pauldron, but they tried that, so.
Exactly. Right. So, and I only say that, and yeah, like you rightfully said before, Asmo and Nicho, still engage with the community. You know, we're all still brothers and sisters at the end of the day who love 40k before, obviously, GW. Like, I don't want to over dramatize this, like, because of a decent law change, but this is, in my opinion, this is the first big blatant step of middle finger, smush it in your face, rub it around in your nose, like fuck you to the fans sort of thing, right?
Mm.
So because of that, because of what they've done, don't go quietly into the night of, oh well, 40k is ruined now.
And you will once again be fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. There's the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive.
Tooth and nail, piss them off at every single vantage you can. Piss them off by not owning any stocks in the business, tanking the stocks, not buying from them at all. And flagrantly post all your models online in Discord community groups and actively tag 3D printed or not officially bought, just to let them know that they are not needed anymore.
Yes.
Don't go quietly into the night, folks. Fucking goddamn, like in a Winston Churchill's gonna come out again like it did like a few episodes ago. But make sure you rub it in their faces, those money hungry bastards, that they are not needed anymore.
Yeah,
you want to put tits in your Custodes, fine, not for me.
The thing is, they could have done that before. It just didn't require it to be canon. It's called homebrew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No one's stopping homebrewing. If someone is gatekeeping homebrewing, they're a dickhead.
They're a dickhead. Like they're an asshole.
Yeah.
Those guys are asses. Homebrewing and fanfic exists in all fandoms, and they should be welcome in all fandoms.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine.
They're all plastic. You
Yeah.
bought the plastic. You bought the paint. You do
It's your
whatever you
shit.
want.
It's your shit.
Yeah.
Like no one can define that for you. But you can't define, by that same token, you can't define other people's. And that's always how it's been, and that's always the whole purpose of homebrew is so fans can add to the universe in their own fun ways. But they stay locked to you. And
Exactly.
things like these changes, though, with the Femstodies, where we're being forced to eat it and have our nose shoved in shit, that's different. This is not homebrew. This is affecting all of us. All right. So, I assume we've all said our piece in regards to the Femstody situation.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, as for the questions, there's nothing more I can add in this segment.
I will say, Nathan, when you kept saying, like, don't go quietly into the night, I didn't think of any real world speech. I thought of the speech from the president in the Independence Day movie. We will not go quietly into the night.
Yeah.
We're going to survive. We're going to go on. I'm actually, if I pulled up the GIF of Ace Ventura doing the humping action on the screen, so hopefully during editing I see that and I remember to edit in that clip. It'll be too appropriate, but yeah. Unless something really major happens in relation to this conversation, I think this is going to be the only mention on the VoxWork podcast of the Custodes debacle going forward. We do want to keep the podcast focused on like what we love about the hobby, what we like to talk about, positive things back and forth. That's always been kind of like the main goal with this. It's us three. Well, they're my best friends for sure. But it's three good friends. Sitting down, chatting about things we love from a positive angle, because God knows the internet has plenty of negative shit as it is. And though we will mock things, and though we will, tease things and things that we don't care about, we'll certainly take the piss out of on occasion. But generally, the end goal is still to have fun when we talk and enjoy our conversations. And obviously something like this, with how passionate we all are about 40K and wanting it to be a great source of escapism, this is a more of a bitter topic to talk about than our normal normal intention.
It needed addressing, at least from a VoxWork sort of point of view.
Yeah.
Although, as you were saying that, I'm not gonna lie, it would have been really fucking hilarious now that I think about it. Is if this particular episode of like the Femstody stuff, we got 3 females to replace us. so like Susie would have voiced me. I can imagine Cindy would have voiced you, Asmo, and who could have voiced? Who could have voiced Nicho?
Shadow, if we put him through a voice filter.
Yeah, I'm sure we could ply him with so much estrogen.
Like Shadow, we know you're pretty hardcore. Yeah. Take this helium tank. Hold still for a few seconds. Oh fuck.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's switch to more positive stuff. Nathan, do you have a few community questions for us to go through?
Yes, I do. Indeedy.
Indeedy.
So this question comes from Mr. Alfarius, and he asks, "What is your least favorite thing done to any of the Primarchs in the Horus Heresy?"
Least favorite, not favorite.
So when he says least favorite thing done, so okay, so because I'm the king of technicalities, technically his question suggests that out of everything that you really loved in the Horus Heresy, what's the thing that you liked the least? Like, you still like it, but it's like not really that major. But I think what he means is, what's the shittiest thing done to the Primarchs in the Horus Heresy?
That's a hard one.
I don't even know if I can answer that.
Yeah, the other problem is like, is it just the heresy, or are we talking pre-heresy?
Just the Heresy.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite thing done to any of the Primarchs in the Horus Heresy? Like, think of a Primarch and think of how dirty they got done. Like, what, in your opinion, is the dirtiest thing that got done to them?
Technically, it's just after the heresy, but it is a direct relation to the heresy. But I guess I'll shift the answer depending. So if we're talking about something that is definitively within the heresy and not tangentially after, but still technically related, I'd say Dorn. No, because as much as the longest second is horrifically bad for Dorn, like very, very slightly, I would make the argument that Sanguinius dueling Horus and being killed by his closest brother, that's a little worse. Very like you can make the argument that Dorn in the longest second and walking in and seeing everything and compiling in his mind like the dread of the future after that point, and knowing that we're all like everything else would just be buying time, like that utter depressing moment. You can argue that that's worse, and in some ways I would, but the tragedy, not just within the characters themselves, but in relation to everybody else, Sanguinius being slain by Horus, I think was the shittiest thing, because it's not. If I'm being fair to the question, it's not just from the Primarch's own perspective of like the shittiest thing done, but also like everyone and how it affects everyone. So I'd say that. Oh, now I have a third thing, but I'd argue it's not as bad.
Well,
as I'm saying it, like I'm thinking of a bunch of shit that happens. Like there's also when Vulcan was kidnapped and tortured for an extended period of time by Conrad Curtis. There's a lot of shit that happened to them. So this is a list.
When I say shitty, I don't mean like the worst in terms of like the in-law setting. I mean shittiest as in like it nearly pulls you out of the law just to say, what the fuck? Like, well, like that was completely unnecessary. Like worse in terms of like that's just bad. That's not like oh no, that's grim dark, that's horrible. How could that happen? That's like, wait, what the fuck?
Oh, from that angle.
Because it's Alfarius, you know, like he's been in the community a while. You know, he knows the setting's grim dark. So I think that's one of his questions. Like that's what his question's about. Like that's what I said before. The Primarch that was done the dirtiest.
Probably when Perturabo not retreated. Well, technically it was a retreat. When he pulled back from the siege of Terra and the Imperial Palace. If I'm remembering it correctly. Because if I'm remembering correctly, and I might be totally fucking off, but if I recall correctly, like they were sieging the Imperial Palace during the siege of Terra, the heretics, and at some point, I think it was Horus, but it might have been one of the other Primarchs that turned traitor, that had some kind of confrontation with Perturabo and say. Again, like my memory is kind of hazy on this one, so I might be totally off. If I am, I apologize. Fucking, I don't know. This is how I'm remembering it, but he had some kind of confrontation with the other Primarchs, they effectively said, "We don't need you," and they like demeaned him, and so he effectively said "fuck you" and backed off, and took his Iron Warriors with him, and immediately they started failing to win the siege. Who would have thunk that if you piss off the guy whose whole specialty is siegecraft, that you'd suddenly struggle with the siege?
We've lost the only guy that knew how to fucking do anything. We have suddenly stopped doing stuff.
Hey, when was the last time we were able to push their forces back? When did Perturabo walk away? Oh, then. Yeah, that's if I'm remembering it correctly. I might be getting either the details wrong, or I might have... Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna... It's one of those things where it might be a case of I'm just not being confident with my memory, or I am genuinely not remembering it correctly.
I'm gonna eat at him now.
It is gonna eat at me, so I have to look it up. Or it's gonna get... Perturabo... Leaving the Siege of Terra. Okay, the Lord leaves Terra for unknown pass after being humiliated by Mortarion and the Death Guard during the Siege of Terra. Yeah, okay, I did remember. I think the part that was causing me to feel not confident is I forgot that it was Mortarion and the Death Guard that had the beef with Perturabo. But yeah, I remembered correctly though. He ordered his legion to leave Terra for paths unknown at the time, because he got humiliated. And then, ironically, after that, they stopped making any progress with the siege. But
that fucking perfectly sums up, like, Perturabo, the fact that he got humiliated, so he pissed his pants and he left.
As much as I am an Imperial Fist fanboy, and I think the Iron Cucks can suck my dick, that was a moment that I'd say was done dirty. That was done dirty. Like, Perturabo should have been there for the whole siege and retreated with everybody. Like, granted, narratively, I guess it makes sense, because, you know, the Siege of Terra didn't succeed. The Emperor had to have that duel with Horus. And if Perturabo had stayed and continued to push the siege, continued to aid the traitors in the siege, the duel with Horus would have been within the throne room. That wouldn't have been on the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. So narratively, it's fair and makes sense. But it's still a moment that is kind of a giant fuck off. Like, it sucks, because I would have been more interested if he had stayed, and if he had left. The thing is, I think it would have been more interesting if he had stayed, and it was the reason that they couldn't actually breach the defenses was just because the Imperial Fists were taking advantage of the fact that Perturabo was starting to lose his shit. Like, because that is the one weakness you can definitely give Perturabo, is that he is a petulant man baby.
Yep.
So if like when he is in a calm mind and he's focused, that man can breach any defense. No fortress is impregnable. But you put him off his game like Dorn can put him off his game, that man does not think clearly, and his siege turns into nothing more than a battering ram, and be just as effective in the Imperial walls. So that would have been more interesting to me. The fact that it was just he got embarrassed by Mortarion and the Death Guard, and then he bowed out. Yeah, that was a disappointed moment. That was kind of like, nah, I don't agree with that narrative choice. Not entirely.
Yeah.
But that's me.
Nico, what about you?
Then me. So that's the thing. I need to think it through a little bit. The one done the most dirty.
Do you wanna me to go first, and then you can.
You know what? Yeah, sure.
So, what I think, well, at least in my opinion, from what I know of the Horus Heresy, is the absolute disrespect on the name of Leman Russ in when he was basically fighting with Horus, right?
Mhm.
And he was about to kill him. And for the most contrived fucking emotional reasons, Lehman Russ does not kill Horus. And therefore, because he does not kill Horus, the rest of the Horus heresy just carries on into the shit show that it is. Like, the absolute betrayal of his character. The fact that he's supposed to be the executioner of the Emperor, but they needed Lehman Russ to not kill Horus in that reason. It was like in that one moment, it was like you could have ended the entire fucking heresy, but all of a sudden, like, they made it sound like fucking Horus gave like Lehman Russ like googly eyes, like, "Ooh, brother, you wouldn't kill me, would you?" And then he doesn't, and Horus is like, "Ha, suck a dick," and just fucking runs away.
Well, if I recall correctly, Lehman Russ was just about to kill Horus, and the reason he couldn't was, well, he was doing the same move he did to Mortarion, where not Mortarion, Magnus, where he lifted him up and was gonna slam him over his fucking knee. If I recall correctly, the reason he didn't was because he got shot at and was distracted, and dropped Horus before he could break his back over his knee. That's my memory of it. I don't remember him hesitating because of like brotherly love, though.
Well, as far as I remember, like, he hesitated, and then Horus basically sort of saw the hesitation in Russ, and then basically just clapped him by doing something. I don't know how. I don't remember how exactly. But a lot of people were pointing to that moment in the the end of the Horus Heresy, when like Horus saw when the Emperor basically hesitated. It was like, oh, remember the callback, like Lehman Russ didn't, want to kill Horus because he saw his brother in him, and then Horus took advantage, and they basically wanted to do that moment again, but at the end of the Horus Heresy, when the Emperor and Horus are fighting, and they wanted to like have a different outcry. They wanted to do a callback, but wanted to have like a different outcome, as in like, oh, won't make the same mistake twice, and shit like that. Yeah, I think the character of Russ got kind of done dirty just for the sake of a contrivance, just to keep the Horus Heresy going. When Lehman Russ should have had the emotional capacity to go, "You fucked up the entire Imperium, you prick," I just would have killed him there and then. So yeah, it's my opinion.
Hey, fair
So, yeah. See, obviously you can argue with particular moments. I think, though, conceptually, the one that is done the most dirty, and yeah, this is a bit of the easy answer, Ferris Menace. Because his big event is just the fact that he dies. I mean, he made friends with Fulgrim, and suddenly, oh no, what's going on? No, my brother, why are you going to the dark side? It's like, oh, I have to fight you. I have to bring you back. It's like, and dead.
Well,
man, I'm dead.
I'm just gonna say this: Ferris was not thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna try and bring you back to life." No, he was trying to kill. He was trying to kill Fulcrum. He was pissed. He was pissed by that betrayal. He was out to kill Fulgrim. There was no bringing him back.
So probably misremembered that. But it's just like he's dead. I think another, though, if we're talking about a particular moment with a Primarch, see, this one is a bit difficult because, again, there's a couple of books I haven't read through yet. I think the only one that comes to mind for me is the Conrad Curse Primarch book, because I feel like the whole book does him a bit dirty, because the whole idea is that Conrad Curse brought stability to Nostramo, all that kind of stuff, right? and he wasn't out to try and. Well, yeah, he was hunting criminals because conceptually he could only think of the letter of the law instead of the spirit of it. But in the book, I just kind of feel like it's like, oh, I get a secret stiffy out of this. I just want to kill. Oh, I want to make an excuse to kill. And I don't like that. You know what? Yeah.
He dies, like, doesn't he die during the Horus Heresy?
Yeah, he's killed by a... What was the name of the... No, not the Custodes.
Exactly.
What if he chowed down on some Primarch cyanide? How about that? Your theory's been debunked.
I think it
How
was...
am I debunked?
I think he was killed. I keep remembering it being a Vindicare, but that might not be correct.
No, wait, it was a Custodes, if I remember.
Was it a Custodes?
Yeah, it was... I remember her name was...
Calidus
M.
Vindicare
Shen?
Assassin, you know what I meant.
Like M. Shen something, because I had to... Because for one of the headcanon voices video, I literally looked up, like, the Custodes, and the one that was like, notable. M. Shen. And yeah, she's the one who killed Conrad Kurz, the Night Hunter. So yeah. Yep, Custodes. Okay.
It says here that it was a Calexis.
Alexis.
Odd. I'm literally on the wiki right now.
Oh,
and it says-
he's on the wiki book
What?
again. Find him out.
In this case, I'm fact checking. Just in this case. And yeah. But yeah, I think that's my answer. I don't really think I can go any further than that.
Fair. Okie doke. Well, thank you, Alfarius, for your question. Do you want to do one more?
Sure.
Sure.
Right. Let me see. Tell you what, here's a question that we need to do. How large is Asmo's pile of shame coming from Mr. Pyrrhus himself?
Large enough I could make a whole video just listing off each box.
Okay, let's talk about monetary value then.
Can we not?
What's wrong, Asmo? You afraid of the truth?
No, I'm not afraid of it. I know it. That's... I know the truth. That's why I can't handle it. Actually, the sad thing is most of the boxes I have in my pile of shame I got years ago. So I don't even want to know what their monetary value is now. Collectively, it's about... Let's see, started collecting this pile of shame back in 2016, 15. I've been collecting steadily over the years, gotten through only a few of it. See, I still got... and then you have to add in, like, the Indominus box. I have to add in the 8th edition start collecting box. All the combat patrols. Yeah, I have no idea how much monetarily it would be with the current market. It's got to be easily around $4,000 to $6,000.
Fucking hell.
Jeez.
If I sold all of it,
Jesus.
If I sold all of it, I could probably buy a car outright. Yeah, that's in today's numbers though. Like, I think it's closer to like 3,000 to 4,000 over the last 10 years when I actually bought them. Yeah, in terms of current value though, it's definitely got to be between $5,000 to $6,000.
What's the biggest thing that you own that you've not painted yet?
Single mini or box set?
Single.
I've not painted. That would have to be either Angron.
Why the fuck have you not painted Angron yet?
I haven't assembled Angron yet.
You know what I mean.
Well, that's because I haven't had the time lately. Yeah, I guess it'd have to be Angron because the closest to him, it's either the same size as him or bigger. But I also have a Gorkanut I gotta put together and assemble. So, yeah. The Stompa, I would say, was like, but that's assembled and painted. But that's not part of the pile of shame. But that's the biggest thing I've had to assemble and paint. Period.
I would love to see you paint Angron.
Same.
Like,
I love
like-
that model. I
mean, I'll get to it. I got the time. Well, I don't got the time right now, but I got the I got the time in the sense that there ain't anything else being added to the pile of shame for a long time. So
yeah, and especially since we're not going to be buying any new models.
That's what I
yeah. Same.
the
Yeah.
complexity at which you paint, the attention to detail. Like, I can imagine all of that on an Angron.
I'm very obsessive.
Tight. Good shit.
I also have Magnus and Mortarion.
Did they ever make stuff like for the others, like Horus or?
Well, technically, there's if we're
Yeah.
including Horus Heresy, there's a model for every single of the Primarchs.
there's even one from Gabriel Angelos from Dawn of War, but they use his Dawn of War 3 version, which is fucking shite.
Yeah.
Why? Just why?
Yeah, if you're talking 40k specifically, not Horus Heresy age, then we have every Chaos Primarch except for Fulgrim. We don't have Horus, but that's because he's gone. Although, based on how the end of the Death Volume 3 ended, that may change. And we don't have Proto-Rabo.
Wait a minute, hang on, we do have Fulgrim.
We do?
He got announced.
Oh, well, not currently. Unless I'm an idiot and they actually added him. Well, let me go to the page. Just in case.
I sent
We
you the
didn't
link.
for a long time.
Transfigured. That looks cool.
Wardrobe pre-order. Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Sorry about that. I had to be the king of technicalities again. The fucking pushing up my glasses and actually.
At least you own it.
you.
$270?
Are you surprised?
I-
Are you fucking surprised?
I am a little bit, considering the rest of the Chaos Primarchs. Wait, did they increase their prices again?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I need to see this. What the fuck? Where's the Chaos?
You'll remember they might have been hiking up the prices is because they know that the scalpers are going to buy them all. They're going to milk the scalpers for all the money, and then once the scalpers buy them all, they've got all the money compared to the average person that would have bought them, and therefore it's no longer an issue of theirs. From a business standpoint, it makes total sense. They're still cunts about it.
Yeah, Mortarion's 170. Why the fuck is Fulgrim 270? He's $100 more expensive. Forge World pre-orders Fulgrim transfigured. Wait, is this for Horus Heresy? Is this for? Is for Forge World today? Oh, it's because it's Forge World. Oh, that's why he's a resin model. He's not one of the plastic ones. I mean, he shouldn't be that expensive even if he's resin, because resin technically is cheaper. But hey, that's details.
Yeah, it's the big Forge World pre-orders Fulgrim transfigured.
Yeah.
Pre-order now. Okay, so for me it's 175 quid.
If I was still buying GW products, I'd feel jealous, but I'm not. So saving money, haha. But yeah, like my pile of shame is both. I've been collecting for over 10 years, so the number sounds horrific, but it's been a decade, I've collected a lot in that time. And B, when I worked for the Navy, I had a lot of expendable income. Looking back, was stupid to buy as much as I did. But that's why hindsight's 20/20 and foresight is rather blind.
We all make mistakes in the heat of passion, Jimbo.
That certainly was one of them. Oh well. In terms of actual like model count, I want to say it's not a couple thousand. It's over 1,000 minis collectively.
See, I could not even begin to compare because I think my pile of shame. It's only like, well, one box set that I got from Pink of Black Templars and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 models, both from 40k and Age of Sigmar. And it's like the value is like maybe $200.
Well, aren't you conservative?
I mean, to be fair, I don't even think I top 100 models. Because most of them are Space Marines. Some of them are NIDs. That people have just like bought me over the years, and they're old boy Marines. None of them Primaris.
Should I make a video just showcasing all of my pile of shame?
You should do. Paris would get a stiffy out of it. It's like, yes, humiliate yourself for me.
I mean, I'm not too humiliated by it. Well, I am in terms of how much money I've spent, but I'm not humiliated by it in terms of like the goal of one day putting it all together.
Big diorama.
Yeah. I've been in.
Yeah.
I reckon you should make like a big diorama, very detailed models, and then at the end of all of it, just blow it up as like one final cathartic fuck you.
I wouldn't be
The
able
whole of the Mountain King
I
just plays in the background.
I'll tell you this. I will be able to do that if they actually do FSM. Like they full on do that. Like I'll find some sticks of dynamite and have them go to town.
Yeah.
Wait, so that question was only pertaining to me? That doesn't feel appropriate.
Well, because Paris knows that me and Nicho, like, are a lot more conservative with, with our model collection. Like, he spoke to you a lot more. He knows about your collection. So he wants to hear you describe it.
In detail.
I don't know, probably covering himself in Dr. Pepper, just bathing in it like, yes, Asmo, tell me about your dirty little 40k secrets.
No, he's a Mormon. He's lathering himself up in holy oil. Paris is gonna have words with me later. He's like, I'm not sacrilegious. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not sacrilegious, so it's gonna be Dr. Pepper, his favorite drink. He's going to be indulging himself in his favorite beverage vice while
So odd.
listening to you describe your mountain of shame.
So odd. We so rarely get Dr. Pepper.
And just like rubbing up and down his thighs, goes, yes, tell me about the Angron you've not painted. Oh, you've not assembled it neither? Tell me more.
Fuck. Okay.
Sorry, Paris, if you're listening.
Great. Okay. He does watch these, by the way, I'm just saying.
I know.
Alright, I guess we'll wrap up there.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much to everybody who watched through and listened to our fun ramblings. Then, like I said, we really like to be more positive and more upbeat with how we talk to each other hobby-wise on the VoxWork podcast. I will say we'll talk about this more off cast, but I'll throw it out there while we're on cast just to get like the initial reaction to the idea. But since all this sourness with 40k, potentially we may start branching out a bit more with like the topics we discuss. I don't know if you guys want to do that too much, because obviously the bread and butter that this cast is built on was 40k. And
Yeah, I'd rather stick with 40k. Well, 40k, 30k, just Warhammer 40k in general. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather stick with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that's just something I thought about broaching. But yeah, for the most part, at the very least, we're definitely still sticking with 40k and finding our positivity with it. So other than that, I suppose we're all set. My name has been Asmogan.
My name's Nathan X2000.
My name's been Nico 40k.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Fuck GW.
Fuck GW.
And yes, with Russ's spear.
With a strap on.